Go.
Based on the book by J.G. Ballard, Crash is a film directed by David Cronenberg, who has created many films under the body horror genre. The film premiered in 1996 at Cannes Film Festival to much controversy and remains a cult film. The film follows a TV commercial producer who has an open relationship with his wife. However, it is quickly discovered that the two are often unsatisfied with their other physical encounters and even their encounters with each other as they try to rekindle the relationship by detailing their other physical encounters. This all changes when Ballard gets into a head-on collision with another car which kills the driver. However, as he sits in the wreckage, he notices the woman in the passenger seat exposing her breasts. The two eventually start an affair and meet Vaughn, who is part of a group of people who fetishize car crashes. This further leads to further depravity and Ballard introducing his wife to Vaughn. The novel which the film was based on already divided audiences with its content, and so too did the film. The film had its premiere at the Cannes Film Festival on May 17, 1996. During the showing, the film received boos and some even left the showing. Despite this reception, the film was still nominated for the Palme d'Or. But what's more interesting is that the film did win the special jury prize at the festival. This is interesting as the jury president at the time, famous director Francis Ford Coppola, mentioned that some jury members disagreed passionately with the award being awarded to Crash. However, producer Jeremy Thomas and Cronenberg himself had stated that it was Coppola himself who was so disgusted with the film, so much so that Coppola did not personally present the award to Cronenberg. The film was attempted to be banned in the UK by the Daily Mail and the Evening Standard. The BBFC would then get input on banning the film from the Queen's Counsel and a psychologist, but none found any reason to ban it. Crash would be passed by the BBFC uncut with an 18 rating in March 1997. The Gabriella character was the most controversial aspect of the film in England. A journalist mentions the film has sex with cripples and that it is horrific that they did that. A lot of disabled people from England condemned the journalist for this, stating, "What, we are disabled and we can't have sex?" The character of the film was unashamed to use her new body for sex, which falls in a theme of transformation. What made this scene very controversial was the fact that the disabled character had a large scar on her leg and the main character penetrates the scar during the scene. A journalist thought he didn't have sex with the scar, however Cronenberg corrected him. The journalist would watch the scene again and mentioned that he guessed his mind just didn't want to see it. Cronenberg states that most people walked out from the two male actors having sex. In fact, the first kiss of the film is during this scene. He claims that the scene is not homosexual and goes beyond sexuality. In the book, they do acid when they have sex, but Cronenberg dropped this from the movie as he wanted them to be aware of what they were doing. Apparently, homosexuals wrote to Cronenberg saying that they wanted the sex scene to be more explicit. The sex scene with Ballard and his wife after the car chase got banned in Ireland because of the dialogue during the scene. The dialogue was from the book and used clinical talk and not sexual talk, as the couple tried to invoke Vaughn in order to have sex during this scene. On a smaller scale, a theater manager in Oslo, Norway banned the film at her theater. It is worth mentioning that the theater manager had a husband that was left paralyzed due to a car crash. However, she stated that was not the case of why she banned the film at her theater. Fine Line Features would distribute the film in the USA. However, the film was refused to be released by Ted Turner, whose company oversaw Fine Line Features. According to Cronenberg, Ted Turner was disgusted with the film and was concerned about copycat incidents happening in the USA. Cronenberg stated that he's afraid of the day that teens would take long car washes with their girlfriend, in reference to the long car wash sex scene. Thankfully, the film was released in the US in the spring of 1997. The film, however, would get an NC-17 rating, which means it was the first film to get the NC-17 rating since Showgirls. AMC would put security guards at their showings of the film so no one under 18 would be allowed to watch the film. When the film was screened at a Korean film festival, it was cut without the knowledge of anyone, as it was a new film festival, and to gain reputation as a film festival, you would not cut content from films. The scene with sex with the disabled character was cut because it was considered taboo to have sex with a crippled in Asian cultures, according to Cronenberg. There are many interpretations and themes in Crash, and one of the most popular themes is not being able to connect and finding weird and strange ways to connect with each other. Others state that the characters of the film's sexuality has been changed by car crashes, and the body transforms with this change based on scars. Critics and audiences have stated that the film has no plot, and a film with 4 consecutive sex scenes is not a film but a pornographic film. Cronenberg argued this notion as he stated that sex scenes in other movies stop the plot and only continue the plot of the film when the sex scene is over. He states that in Crash, the sex scenes are the film. During the Cannes panel, James Spader was asked why there was no frontal male nudity but full frontal woman nudity. He states that, quote, "Well, when you're ucking, you don't see the penis." J.G. Ballard has stated the film is better than the book and that the film goes further than the book. He also mentions that the book is a warning about the marriage of sex and technology, and that the book and movie are invitations to explore the subject openly. Ballard stated that he was in a car crash, but he didn't feel anything sexual from it. The main character of the book shares the same name as the author, and David Cronenberg has mentioned that the main thing he would change of the film is the name of the main character, James Ballard. He wished he had called the main character David Cronenberg. David Cronenberg screened the film to a US distributor executive who suggested adding voiceover to the film to explain the film and provide comfort to the audience, as he felt the film was not accessible to many people. Obviously, Cronenberg disagreed. The reason why the film has limited police is the fact that the film is meant to be taken metaphorically, not literally, as its intention is to show what happens if the characters are not inhibited and are free to explore their fetish. Remote-controlled cars and cable cars were used for the crashes. After the initial crash scene, Ballard can be seen with a large scar on his neck. Cronenberg researched many car crashes and found out that many people get cuts on their neck due to seatbelts. He also mentioned that real-life car crashes are more brutal than the ones in the film. A good amount of the cast and crew changed the way they drive after the filming. For instance, the actress Holly Hunter got rid of her pickup truck for a BMW because a lot of pickup trucks did not fare well from all the crash footage they viewed for the film. For Ballard's car, they created their own symbol for the car, and if you pay attention to the first crash, the man who flies through the windshield has an imprint of the symbol on his hand. When Spader was cast, he wanted to know who was casted because, in his words, "I get to uck everybody, don't I?" After this comment, Cronenberg knew he got the right guy for the role. Cronenberg stated that when someone has an orgasm, it's very significant. For example, the scene where Spader and Holly have sex in a parking lot, they both almost have simultaneous orgasms, and the scene cuts to Spader and his wife having sex in the same position but with no orgasm, as the wife has not had her car crash yet. The James Dean car was a replica, as it would cost millions for the actual car. During the James Dean car recreation, you can see Cronenberg and the crew briefly in the woods filming. 2 dummies and remote control cars were used for this crash. During the night shoot of this crash, the special effects guy ran the car up and down driverless. They would crash the car, and they eventually flipped the car into a ditch without the cameras rolling. Cronenberg laughed, and the producers wanted them fired for the accident, but Cronenberg did not fire them. The car the wife drives was white in the book, but white cars are hard to shoot at night due to reflections, so they settled for silver. A lot of sex scenes don't have the actors look at each other. This was unintentional, as the actors choreographed their own sex scenes. An interesting fact that doesn't relate to the film is that dummies are used to test cars for crashes, but corpses are also used to get the full extent of the crash. During filming, they would choose what roads to film on depending on the lighting of the roads. During the sex scene where they were driving down a road, the road was closed and police escorts were following from the front and back. However, on the other road, people would watch the scene as they drove by and almost crashed. When they visited the car crash, the dead dog was a stuffed dog. Cronenberg was tempted to write a note at the end that the dog was real. And finally, the reason why the wife cries at the end is because she will be fine and she wants to be closer to death. So I sincerely think this is a great film. I'm going off script because I pretty much said what I needed to say in the other stuff, but I honestly love this film. I own it on Blu-ray. I just think it's really disgusting that the UK papers tried banning this film, which I'm against censorship. I'm always for free speech, which is kind of sad to say, especially if the current administration. I live in the USA, by the way. Hopefully they don't come after me, but if they do, whatever. But anyways, yeah, I just always find it like disturbing. You know, Ted Turner refusing film, like he gets involved with it, which is like stupid. Francis Ford Coppola, you know, the maker of Godfather, Apocalypse Now, which are these like violent films, and for some reason Crash is like the one where he's like so appalled by it. But the Crash is like, as David Cronenberg states, is not even that like violent, I would say. I mean, there's some like blood and like a little bit of like gore, but it's not as like excessive, and there is a lot of sex scenes, but I'd say there's been worse films like out, especially during like Francis Ford Coppola's time around there, that, you know, are way worse than Crash. So as to why I really like this film is, you know, it's like the other people, like I just mentioned, like who are against it. I'm sure at the time they were like so used to like watching films with the plot is just like beginning, middle, end, you know, here's Journey, MacGuffin, all that like high school stuff we learned. Films like this make you question like, what is a film? Can a film really be like 4 consecutive sex scenes? But I think it is, because you know, you're watching like the main character and his wife, they're having trouble connecting with each other. You know, they talk about their previous experiences when they have sex, but especially in the beginning when they can't orgasm, she says maybe the next one. And then as like when J.G. Ballard gets in his car crash, he brings his wife and meets this group, and they start to connect with like this group, you know, sexually obviously. But and then at the end, you know, he crashes into his wife. Spoiler alert, but it doesn't really matter because, you know, that's not the point of the movie. But his wife cries because she's not near death, and then he says it, not her this time, but he says like maybe the next one, which is like a very like haunting line, I guess, because they're gonna continue until, you know, she's close to death and they can finally like orgasm, I guess, which is, you know, kind of disturbing to say. But yeah, I kind of agree with Cronenberg. This is not that disturbing. Maybe the scene with the, you know, the scar on the foot, the leg. I do recommend this film, but, you know, it's kind of like difficult to like say like, hey, go watch Crash, because then like to someone who's not used to, like, again, like the papers try banning this film, they'll probably be disgusted by this. Yeah, I think it's a well made, you know, I love the score, you know, it's well shot. David Cronenberg, obviously I'm a big fan of his too. Videodrome and The Fly are great films that I personally like. That's Crash, unscripted right now. I love you. Please subscribe, like this video, comment. If I forgot anything, please comment. I'd love to hear your comments about anything I forgot. And I love you.